and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program host and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by TCN TV Network Incorporated. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. The TCN TV Network claims no rights to the said content. TCN TV Network cannot be held accountable for the copyrighted content. TCN TV Network is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this program.
Good evening, friends, and welcome. Welcome to this another edition of On Point, your number one political and current affairs talk show program, broadcasting to you live right here from the beautiful city of Brampton, where today it's a little bit cloudy, a little bit of rain is falling, but we know that as the environment, we need different kinds of weather, so we can grow, we can thrive. This evening again, we're taking another look at the upcoming 43rd general election. We are just about 57 days away, and all the candidates are gearing up. They are door knocking. They are ready to fight to see who will govern us for the next term of after this election. We have joined us our candidate from Brampton Center. You'll hear from Mr. Ramesh Sangha. We also invited the Conservative candidate, Ms. Gosal, to join us. However, she indicated that she would not be available. But we'll hear from Mr. Sangha a bit later on in the program. This evening we have with us the lovely Miss Kimberlee Adjubilade, who provides some analysis and perspectives. Kimberlee, always good to have you. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we have fresh back from his vacation, businessman Mr. Mario Russo, who is joining us. Mario, welcome back.
Thank you so much. I was looking to bring the show internationally. I was using that dialogue for a while.
Oh, that's good.
Right.
That's good. We're happy to go international. So just before we talk about Brampton Center, let's go some other issues. We are 57 days away from the election. All the candidates, Mario, are out there. They are door knocking. They are getting their messages out. But we are not officially in the campaign season. What's going on? Why hasn't the Prime Minister called the election?
Writ hasn't dropped. I guess, I mean, it all depends on perception. The Prime Minister probably, from my perspective, is waiting for a little bit of the backlash from the SNC Lavalin perhaps to die down, or just perhaps just waiting for the actual RIP period to just naturally fall. That's all speculation. Really, at the end of the day, from my perspective, all the candidates can only focus on what they can actually do, and that, as you alluded to, is hit the doors, get their message across, and let people know who the candidates are. These are some dialogues I've had with a lot of other people, is that there are party politics, obviously, that occur during these federal elections, but I think it's imperative that people get to know who the candidates are that are running within those parties.
Awesome, and that's one of the things that we want to do on this show is to bring you the candidates, introduce the candidates to you, so you can be well informed as to what their programs, what their policies are. Let's take a look at some of the headlines from this week, some of the important issues that people are talking about. And the first headline we have, let's take a look at the first headline. Mr. Singh has made a vow that should this election on October 21st become a minority parliament, that he would not support Mr. Scheer based on a speech that Mr. Scheer gave a few weeks ago. Kimberlee, let's get your feedback to this. We are told that the Liberals dug up this 15-year-old or more video. Your feedback at this time.
Well, what we know, like you said, it's 15 years ago. It's a long time. A lot of perspective has changed since then. And to the Conservatives' point, I guess that video, even Liberals commented on that. If you remember Dalton McGuinty, people like Stefan Dion, they also had voted against it at that time. But what we've seen is that, in my opinion, that maybe Mr. Scheer has changed his stance a little bit. We saw where he's, voted in favor of, the changing of that typical definition of marriage in the Civil Act. So we'll see lots of changes. I think over the last two elections, when Canadians spoke out strongly on this topic, he's kind of changed his perspective, and that's good in a leader. It's not really about your personal biases, but it's about for the greater good of Canadians.
Okay, Mario. Is Mr. Singh or was Mr. Singh conceding the election already? I found a bit surprised that he's saying that he would not prop up a share government if it's a minority. Is he conceding the election that the NDP has no chance in this election?
Well, absolutely. That was something that I mean, it was the discussion all weekend was why would a leader already start having those discussions? Ultimately, anyone who's an NDP supporter doesn't even want to think of this or that. You want to win the election. So you're already talking about not only not winning the election, that you won't even support whomever the winner is in particular. Now, perhaps in this specific scenario, they were talking about the issue of same-sex marriage. Right. But at the same time, you are conceding that fact that you are the third party potentially at best, and you're not going to even be working. And that's what disappoints me is that ultimately all parties, all Canadians should be focusing on working together. If you're already saying you're not willing to work with someone before that opportunity arises, what expectation do we have? Of a harmonious, of a true governing body. And that's where, from my perspective, it's a little bit disappointing. I don't know if that's his point of view or if it's the party's point of view. Unfortunately, it has been said, and I disagree with the philosophy there.
But we might see something change there because, if, for example, there's a minority government at the end of this, Kimberlee, would he then want to see us go back to the polls within another 30, 90 days? To see if we can elect a government with a minority? Is that a position that we think the NDP would want to put Canadians in by sending them back to the polls?
Well, this is it. It's all just kind of up for interpretation with that blanket statement that he made.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's look at some more headlines making it this week. We'll say we can go through 2 or 3 very quickly. So the slogans are coming out, and we have another clip there as well. The different slogans are coming out. The Liberals are saying, let's choose to go forward. The Conservatives are saying it's time for you to get ahead. And if we go to the next clip, the NDP haven't figured out a slogan as yet to come on out. The Green Party, interestingly, not left, not right, forward, together. PPC, strong and free. Kimberlee, looking at those slogans, let's keep them here for a little bit. Your thoughts as to these? Are they catching people's attention?
Well, I guess generally the consensus is kind of the same. Everybody want to get ahead. Everybody want to move forward. It's all about how they're proposing to do that. That's what I think the constituents are going to be looking at, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I like them all. I think whoever the advertising firms or parties chose, they're all well put, and they do indicate or hold the party whom have chosen those slogans kind of their beliefs. That being said, I think Kimberlee hit it best. It's the philosophy of going forward and getting ahead. That slogans, however, from my perspective, don't do much. They're just that, they're slogans. It's, again, what is the root of what your messaging is and how are you going to do it? So whether it be from the Liberal side, our record over the last 4 years, from the Conservative side, what are you going to do that actually is going to benefit? Same with the NDP, Green, PPP. That should be the important thing. A slogan is a catchy slogan. I mean, yes, that's good. That's advertising and marketing. But what's the real root of what you're trying to accomplish?
That's it. All right, let's look at one more. The Conservatives seem to be having, Kimberlee, a bit of challenge in Ontario. They are talking about the Ford factor in the battleground for Ontario. There's no path to victory for the Conservatives or for any of the political parties without picking up significant amount of seats in Ontario. I think we asked Arpan this last week when he was here. How does the Conservatives deal with the Ford factor? Doug Ford, as we know, got a majority government in Ontario, right. But now he's suggesting that his poll numbers are a bit lower, very, very low than even Kathleen Wynne during her hard time. How does a Conservative work with their provincial cousins, or do they have Doug Ford help them in the campaign?
Oh, that's an interesting theory. I guess it really depends on kind of how candidates vote. I had a friend of mine yesterday, for example, tell me that they were outdoor knocking and somebody said They were door knocking for a conservative candidate, and someone said, "Oh, we're liberal, you know." I mean, she made mention of the SNC, and she's like, "It's terrible, but you know, I'm just a liberal." So some people vote just because of the party. Some people vote just because of the candidate. It's perspective, really.
Absolutely. From that type of voting, or that type of the Ford factor, for me is, and I'm a little bit biased, but is insulting to the actual voter.
Yeah.
Is that they're different fundamentally. One is federal governance, one is provincial governance. I use the story of, it's risky as well, is the fact that, Ford was voted in with a majority, has his number slipped perhaps. Now, is that just a GTA scenario? Is that province-wide? I just think that if you're going to use that, then does the voter think that the federal liberals should be aligned with the provincial liberals that we voted out? I just think that let's focus on the issues. Let's focus on federal issues and how those governments are going to do better for us as Canadians.
All right, we got to leave it there. We'll take our first break. But when we come back, the Member of Parliament for Brampton Center, Mr. Ramesh Sangha, and the Liberal candidate in this October's election will join us. Stay tuned.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity in our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
With so many newspapers within the community, it's sometimes hard to tell what separates us from the rest. Most of the time, they all brag about the same thing. You know, the large circulations, tons of online views, and it can go on and on. But what really separates the Toronto Caribbean newspaper apart from everybody else? Well, it's simple. Our service. No, seriously. Hi, I'm Grant Browning, founder and CEO of the Toronto Caribbean newspaper. I have over 20 years of branding and marketing experience, and I've worked with countless companies and corporations to do one thing, and that is to raise their profits with their brand. With over 40 years of combined experience in branding and marketing, our amazing staff is fully prepared to sit down and figure out exactly what you need to stand out from your competitors.
The reason why you don't see that anymore is because
the ad is too powerful, bring too much people.
So what are you waiting for? Give us a call today. We'll be happy to help.
Welcome back to On Point, your #1 political and current affairs talk show program. 57 days away from the next general election, and we are looking at some of the issues. We're also introducing you to the candidates who are here running, particularly in the city of Brampton. As time goes by, we'll share with you some of the candidates from some of the other areas right across the country. We have with us this evening Mr. Ramesh Sangha. Mr. Sangha is the current Member of Parliament for Brampton Center. He was elected in 2005. To that role. 2015. Oh, 2015. Yes, my man skipped me there. 2015 was elected to be the Member of Parliament on the Liberal ticket for Brampton Center. Mr. Sangha, welcome to On Point.
Oh, thank you very much for taking me today here. Okay. I am lucky that I am here in my riding here.
Yes.
Brampton Center.
Yes.
And it's a really pleasure for me to be with everyone living in my riding. Thank you very much.
Yes, we are broadcasting right here from in Brampton Center. So, Mr. Sangha, you were elected in 2015 as the Member of Parliament. First of all, tell us a little bit, the viewers, a bit about your background. What do you do? What you bring to politics? Why you decided to enter politics in the first place?
Okay, I'm back from India, Punjabi. And lawyer back from India.
Of a lawyer, okay.
Yeah. Before that, I was a competent member of Indian Air Force. Retired from there as a sergeant.
Okay.
And then started my practice in India.
Okay.
1994, I migrated to Canada. Upgraded my law degree in Windsor University, and from there, I was practicing personal injury law, family law, and immigration. For a short while in Malton, then here in Brampton.
Okay.
And it was a good business. I enjoyed my community. People helped me a lot. The community was always with me in my business, law profession business. Then I decided when we had some extra ridings here in Brampton, so I decided to take the opportunity to jump in.
Why do you do that though? Why politics? I mean, as a lawyer, I presume you'll have a successful career.
Actually,
make some money.
sometimes
Why politics?
we generally say that okay, it is in the mindset. You have got something in the mind to do it. In India also, I was a politician.
Okay.
Let me tell you.
Okay.
So same thing. When I came here, it was always in me. I used to have link with the politicians. Our Gurbakhsh, he was my mentor actually when I came here.
Okay.
And I got the chance to be a chairperson to Canada Pension Plan and worked for 4 years during his tenure.
Okay.
And that's the way I started now. I am coming back to 13 when we have our membership for the leadership, for Justin Trudeau's leadership. And in that leadership, I took the active part in Brampton.
Okay.
And that lead me to the coming for myself as a candidate for nomination.
So you were elected in 2015, and you have now in your 4th year as a member of parliament.
Yeah.
What's your most significant achievement? What are you proudest of achieving or doing for the people of Brampton Center as their member of parliament?
Yeah, let me tell you, when we talk about the achievement, it's not my achievement only always for myself I do. It is there are I did myself, but it's a teamwork which we have done under the leadership of our Right Honorable Justin Trudeau.
Okay.
And this is the achievements which we agreed at the time of 2015 election that we will do these all things in our coming period of tenure. So in that, we told people, we were told the constituents and Canadians, we will come here, we will raise the standard of middle class, we will make the better life for the middle class and for those who want to join the middle class. And then we did it for that. We started cutting the taxes for the middle class, taxes for the persons, those who are earning more than $100,000 and above, told them to pay more. So like that, we did every effort which we agreed on at the time when we were here before the constituents that we will try to do during our tenure of 4 years. And that's what when I come to myself, what I do in Brampton Center and in Brampton, it is our joint effort of our member parliaments in Brampton. We have already always tried to do together, go and talk to the federal there in our government in Ottawa, see that what we can help such as bringing university here. We tried our best. We were just signing stage with that we are going to get the university.
Yeah, but that hasn't come through though. So
Yeah,
I mean, is that one of the things that you guys are regret?
Unfortunate. Then we talk about this when we talk about transportation, and we want to do environment-free transportation. We have done it, and that's why recently dedicated enough amount to the transportation in the municipality to get 10 buses here with the start.
You're referring to the $11 million that you recently announced for electric
and,
buses.
Then I talk myself here at McQueen and Queen. There is a seniors building which I inaugurated. And the $27 million were dedicated to that. So it's like that, this is the achievements which we generally do together. Personally, my level, what I am doing, joint team.
Why another 4 years? Why do you want another 4 years?
Another 4 years?
Yeah, why do
See,
you
let
want
me tell
another 4
you,
years?
again, same thing. We agreed that we will give you the better standard living life of the middle class. Before that, the government, let's go back to the conservative government which was there for the 10 years and they did nothing. People were hard pressed. They were doing 2 shifts, 3 shifts at a time, and they were pulling very hard. They were feeling that their life is very tough. And what we did, Canada Child Benefit, yes, we did it. 1 million jobs, yes, we brought it. Then we did environmentally, environment friendly. You can see how much environment friendly changes are there. And we want to bring in free air, free clean water, and that's the atmosphere we want for our children, grandchildren to live in, and to see that we are having the best atmosphere for our kids.
Let me press you on a few little issues. Electoral reform. You had promised that when you guys got elected, your party has backed away from that.
Good question. It's not a backed way. It's not a backed way. He said we made first promise and we try to fulfill that promise. Just Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister, as a Prime Minister, he formed a committee which there was no majority of anyone. That was the first time in Canadian history that we took that, let's choose these reforms, do these reforms, so that everybody puts their effort to do the part of their performance so that we can bring the changes. But ultimately what happened? That nobody was able to reach to the consensus which type of reforms you are going to make it. It's not the Liberals who walked away. It is these parties, even NDP, they were not able to do and work with us. And totally it was a flop. That committee was dismantled because nobody reached to the consensus and no reforms could be taken on.
We're running out of time. I just want to ask you two quick more things. We're out of time. Justin Trudeau is going forward as the leader of the Liberal Party. Do you still have confidence in him as your leader? He was just found that he breached some ethical rules, ethics commissioner. Do you still have confidence in him as the leader to lead you into the next election?
He is a leader. Let me tell you, if somebody is there, a leader in the Canadian history, he is the leader now, a best leader, because he's whatever
even
he says.
Even with the ethical issues, twice breach ethical.
Let me tell you. This is a good question, $1 million question, which need to be explained to the listener.
Sure.
When we talk about something about ethical. Legal and ethical is a big difference. When we talk as a Prime Minister, what is your duties? To look abroad to the whole Canada. See that what Canadians needed, what Canadians want to see that what Prime Minister is doing for. A Prime Minister has a public interest in his mind, that I have to look into the facts and the circumstances and the nature of the job which he's doing, that I am doing it for the general public. But if somebody in the house, somebody in the cabinet, in somebody even in our house, if Big Brother is telling to do something and one of them is telling, no, I don't agree with this one, though that is a good thing. But because he is telling, I don't agree, that their disagreement of these brothers, it went out of the walls of the house, our own home. And with that create a problem. Those who are people waiting for the things, let us see what is the flaw in it. And they try to ignite those things. Nothing bad happened. Nothing bad. It was a public policy. It was for the public. It was Lebanon was the law which was made. It was made by the same justice minister being on duty.
Okay. We are running out of time. We're going to leave it here. But first, before we go, how can the people reach you? If someone in Brampton Center listen to you today, they want to connect with you, how can they connect with you? How can they support your campaign?
100 Kennedy Road, South, is my address as a member of parliament, where we serve the public.
Yes.
And that's the place where member parliament gives you the services. People are coming. Everybody is coming. I want you to come there. Get your problem solved. Give me your problems and sleep tightly. I am there. My staff is there to look into. And keep it in mind. I want your suggestions too. I want your every input. That's the way we are doing. We go door to door. We go even seminars. We go town hall meetings. We go for all those things. That's why we were calling always to you, listening you. And when you give the input, that helps us. That I take those in your inputs to Ottawa. That's the way we work. That's the way Liberals work.
The Member of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, for Brampton Center, also the candidate asking for your vote in the next 57 days. Mr. Sangha, thank you very much for joining us, and we hope that we wish you the
I have
best.
not started asking for the vote. I am not asking for the vote. I am there this time. I will be later on when there is a writ fall. I
Okay.
will come back
You
to
come
you.
back and ask for the votes.
Then I will ask you to see.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we look
Thank
forward
you.
to bringing
Thank
him back
you
to
very
talk
much.
with you. Mr. Ramesh Sangha, we'll take a break and we'll be right back.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. May your dreams all come true. Happy birthday to you.
We refuse to promote, report on anything negative in the community.
Welcome back to On Point, your number one political and current affairs talk show program, broadcasting to you live from here in the beautiful city of Brampton. 57 days until the next general election, the 43rd general election. Now, who will it be? Will it be Justin Trudeau, who continues to lead us? Mr. Andrew Scheer, who will be your new Prime Minister, or would it be Mr. Jagmeet Singh, who will lead us? Let's have a bit of a talk with Mr. Ramesh Sangha. Mario, Mr. Sangha is the Member of Parliament for Brampton Center. Kimberlee, I might start with you first. Your impressions of what Mr. Sangha had to say.
I guess he had quite a bit to say about some of the topics we talked about. He focused heavily on, being for the middle class, which is obviously an issue that we needed to deal with, and the summer jobs that they got, lots of jobs that said they were focusing on that. I don't know, but at what cost with some of that? But I guess we'll get into that a little bit later, right? Because now we're seeing the carbon tax that they want to champion. We didn't get to touch on that, but kind of by default, he just kind of championed the middle class, which is good. They all need their spokes, but I mean, there's some holes in that. A little broader picture, I think we need to
Absolutely. I think respecting Mr. Sangha for coming out to the program, number one. Number two, for 4 years working for his constituents. And also, I think one thing I do agree is he does understand the people of his community. Right. Brampton Center has a diverse group of people, and I think he's always been very accessible. I do not agree with some of the policy scenarios in particular, and I don't want to get too much into it, but the debate with the SNC and the ethical aspect of it, I think that's something that that's my personal belief that is not the real end result, but the issue of ethical and a prime minister breaching that ethical aspect for me is significant. Some people try and downplay it. Obviously, for me, that is of great magnitude.
But he came back, and I think he's doing the same talk as his leaders doing that. You look at the wider picture, trying to save jobs, and this is what he was trying to do. But should how Canadians, how would Brampton Center rather, vote on that particular issue?
Well, I guess we'll wait and see. I just think that obviously the betterment of jobs and job creation and so forth is very, very, very important. However, the fabric of our justice system being compromised potentially because of influence, for me, is exceptional. That is something that are the basis that if you start losing faith in that, you have issues that I don't even want to think of. But that being said, it's something that the people will have to decide on the severity of whether it's a non-issue or not. I think Conservatives will continue to bring it forward. I think the NDP should be I think all parties should be bringing it forward. Obviously, as the party that's in power, you will downplay that. That's just common sense, and we'll see what the people of Brampton decide.
Kimberlee, the Liberals promised a few things going into the last election. They promised one, electoral reform. That's something Justin Trudeau promised that the last election would be the final one using the first past the post system. That we have now. You go out, you vote for your MP, the person with the most votes form government. And he promised was the last one. Mr. Sangha is saying that they were trying to find consensus with the other parties and couldn't agree. A promise made that was not kept. How would Canadians think about that?
Well, I guess it all boils down to what's most important to Canadians. Again, I heard him touch on that we couldn't agree. I guess the constituents couldn't agree. I don't know. Could it be that they could probably try a little bit harder, or that probably just wasn't on the top of their list to champion, maybe? I don't know. But in terms of whether or not that's going to make it or break it, we're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think when you're in power, when you are the party in power, and you have a duty, obviously, to fulfill what you promise. That being said, there are difficulties, but the ball ends, and it ends with you.
Particularly when you have a majority.
Absolutely,
Yes.
the buck ends with you. So if you have not been able to fulfill that, you can say that it wasn't because this person didn't agree with us, or these people didn't come to the table, but it's your responsibility. So whomever is in power has that that luxury at first, but then that your difficulty is that if you don't fulfill it, you'll know what the end result is that you didn't do it. The next party coming along saying, I will do it. So we know what happened for 4 years. We don't know what will happen if another party is in power. But again, you have to rest on your laurels at this point in time.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Mr. Sangha, but never had a chance to talk to him about that, about his path to victory and what he thinks he's going to do this time around. Because in the last, in 2015, if we look at 2015, for example, he was able to get over 19,000 votes to beat back Mr. Balgosal's 13,000 votes. Interestingly, this time around, we have Balgosal's wife, who has replaced him in that Brampton Center and will be running against Mr. Sangha. From what you're picking up, Kimberlee, I mean, is he likely to be reelected in Brampton Center?
I think it's too early to tell. I think at the drop of a dime, something could shift. We saw that even with our municipal election, there was a apparent shift at one point, and it just turned. So I think it's too early to tell. I think the candidates have a duty to just go out there. If it's Mr. Sangha, he's been in power for 4 years, to show what he's done, and for the incumbent to show what they can do. I think it's really too early to tell. There's certainly a good possibility of him winning, but we can't tell right now. Too early, I think.
I found it interesting when you ask about his most significant achievement as a member of parliament in Brampton Center. He pointed to the team effort and what they were able to do as a team. But as a member of parliament, shouldn't you be able to point out to, I'm representing Brampton Center. We were able, my concerns of my residents was this. I was able to deliver on this. Was that good enough for you?
Well, again, I think I respect him for that. Is that you don't want to be the glory hound. You want to represent your party and highlight all the factors that the party have or what has been accomplished. But to your point, as a Bramptonian, I want you to champion issues that are dear to my heart and essential for us. So I think that's the difficulty or the fine line that you have to do when you're in a party system. You have to think of the betterment of Canada, but ultimately you need to advocate for your constituents. So how do you do that? That's the job of the MP or the MPP, whoever is there. I do think that, again, it's respectful to highlight that, but you do have to focus on things that are in your community as well.
Let's go at this headline, because Minister Bill Blair was in Peel region yesterday. One of the issues that we have been struggling with is that it relates to violence and gun issues in Brampton. 57 days before an election, Kimberlee, the minister responsible for keeping Canadians safe the former chief of police for Toronto, came to offer $54 million to fight illegal guns and gangs. Brampton particularly had a record year. Peel had a record year in terms of crime last year. Is this just election time money is coming out, or is this real money that we need?
That's the $1 million question. We really want to see. We've saw in the past where lots of stuff rolls out just before election, and then you have to wonder if it was thought out properly, if the money was really there. You really don't know. But there's no doubt that there's no time like the present to really get, Peel back on track, and just Brampton in particular. We've seen, council champion that. So I don't know if it's just coincidental because it's been on a rise and it's progressive, or if it's campaign. I guess now we'll have to see.
Yeah,
but of course, anything to get the guns off the street, I'm all for that.
Absolutely.
But I just hope that it's not a political stunt.
Well, I agree. I think let's take the money. Let's work with it. Let's appreciate it. I just, again, being a little bit of a skeptic is why wasn't it there 3 years ago? And that's, I think, a lot of Canadians should be asking that. With that being said, to your point, Kim, is the fact that, it could have been in the works and now it's actually come to fruition. But these are the problems with elections, is the fact that a lot of these promises are made in these last few months. The question is exactly that. Is that money really earmarked? Yeah. Does that money really exist? Will it come through if and when they're elected? Or is it just a campaign promise? Ultimately, you know what? Let's focus on getting the dollars into Ontario and actually getting guns off the street.
When we come back, we talk billboards. Billboards have been making the headlines over the last week. Quite a lot of conversation have been surrounding billboards. This is On Point. Stay with us.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity in our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Welcome back to On Point. We are 57 days away from the next general election. We are having a conversation about the issues we just had a great conversation with Mr. Ramesh Sangha, who is running to be the next Member of Parliament, or hopes to continue serving as Member of Parliament in Brampton Center. We're certainly happy that he came in and we could have a talk with him. But as this election heats up, a number of things are happening. And, before we even get to some of these things, let's take a look at some other parts of the country. We take a look over in Adri, where, they are doing some different things, preparing for this election.
Yes.
The Adri mayor was injured after tumbling during an outhouse race in rural Alberta. Kimberlee, ever been to an outhouse race?
No, I have not had the pleasure.
That's one of the good things about living in rural Alberta or rural Canada. Mario, you have some small town things that you come out to enjoy and engage in.
I think that's something that we may aspire to do here in Brampton. The issue is, I'm glad I did find I get a chuckle out of the mayor's name, Peter Brown. I don't know if there's any relation to our mayor.
Oh,
that being said, is it's stuff that I think. It's community minded. I think it's something that's fun. There may be some history there as well. Fortunately, he wasn't hurt too badly. Yeah, I think he was able to jump out of the way. But I guess that's the problem with outhouse racing, I guess.
Yeah. Community activities. Kimberlee, Hockey Night in Brampton. We had that last week right here in Brampton. I understand it was a very successful event. You were there. What was your experience?
Yes, it was good. Such a sense of community. There's something to be said about Bramptonians. If you were ever in doubt, then on a Thursday night, the stadium was almost full. They were saying that it was even more than a regular Brampton Beast game. And of course, the icing on top, not only did our mayor score 4 goals, but $411 for the cardiac.
Absolutely.
So that's
That's well done.
411,000.
Yeah.
Million would have been good, right? 411,000. But we've seen lots of these games in other cities, and sometimes, for the first one to be so big, that's very, very big. And how they were able to get out so much superstars. From different teams, that was just so amazing. Sometimes you see people on the first time get 150, 200, but 411,000. I'm excited. I'm glad that the city was able to pull together, come together, and do this. And it's for the betterment of the hospital, right? The cardiac unit that they've been championing that. We know the hallway medicine, they want to eld that. So I think it's a good start. Very, very good start.
And,
really happy about that.
Too often do you hear the bad news stories, the negative aspects of whether it be council, provincial or federal politics. These are the good news stories.
Yes.
And we need to highlight good news stories and not just the bad news stories. So this was kudos to Mayor Brown and to council and to everyone that was involved and brought this. Thankfully, the professionals that came out, that was great. And I think this is just a stepping stone. The next one will be bigger and better.
Yep. Good shouts out to all involved, Mayor Brown, the entire team of all those who were involved in Hockey Night in Canada. It was my first hockey game. I look forward to going to many, many more. But let's get back to the politics a bit. Billboards have been making the news. Some billboards have been showing up all over the country. Mario, when you enter an election campaign, you try to size up who your opponent is. What we find now is the whole issue of third-party advertisers, where these billboards are not even paid for. Let's look at this first one here, not even paid for by the party or by the candidates, but some third parties who are now running serious campaigns against you. As a candidate, how do you respond as a candidate? When people are spending money to actively campaign against. If we go to the next one, Ralph Goodall had a billboard that was put up against him in his riding. Again, not by his opponent. How do you manage as a candidate when you have these things happening out there?
Well, we're in the media age, and it is tricky now with third-party advertising. We're starting to get, I'm not a big fan of it, we're starting to get a little bit into the U.S. system of more money, and that starts to win elections. That's not the way it should be. It should be on issues. It should be on hitting the doors. That being said, is what I alluded to earlier. You're in power, you're going to be looked to be thrown out. Also, if you're a strong candidate, there's going to be people that, if you're vocal, they're going to be not agreeing. It is, in one way, democracy at its finest, is that if someone doesn't believe in it, put it out there. You're willing to spend the dollars and put out the sign that I don't agree with this person. As long as it's respectful, as long as it's not obscene, as long as it's not, it gets tricky. We may see another one that we're going to look at right now that there's mixed reactions to as well.
Kimberlee, we asked you to give us your feedback on this. There's a one about strong women. If we could find one about strong women, the SNC Lavalin affair again is coming back front and center, where Justin Trudeau again put these two men, Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott, outside of his caucus. Now they're running as independents. We are seeing these billboards popping up to kind of say, Justin Trudeau must go. Your thought, Kimberlee, on a billboard like this?
Again, this is not by the party, right?
Yeah,
I think the best thing that all the parties can do is rise above. Forget attacking the other party, champion your cause. Talk about what you're going to do. Forget bashing the other one. If they just champion their cause, they will have an advantage, because over time people get annoyed at that.
Absolutely.
I'm asking you what you're doing, and all you can tell me about is what the other party is not doing. What are you doing? That's, for me, personally, that's what I want to know. What are you doing? Just kind of put on blinders, if you will.
Yeah,
it's a short race to the election. Put on blinders, keep your focus, talk about and champion your cause.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. It's just one of those things that these billboards do get into people's psyches, and that's marketing. Is really we've become it's a marketing age, it's a media age, and it is part of politics. So you need to recognize it and work with it.
Let's get one that caused a lot of controversy over the last week. This one, say no to mass migration. Again, not by the political party, but people who understand his cause. My understanding is that when these billboards went up, over $300,000 were raised by the People's Party of Canada. This one caused a lot of stir. Kimberlee, why do you think it caused so much of a headache?
Well, I think because, as the Prime Minister himself is always saying, we're great because of our diversity, and we know that migration make up a huge part, and that's touchy to lots of people's heart, whether they're coming from first, second, third generation. People want that. So when they just see it as not even just trying to explain it, but just a blatant like no, that, you know, there's some emotion involved with that, I think.
Mario, a lot of conversation about this one over the weekend.
Absolutely. Well, we saw that some were vandalized. People got pretty creative
with them.
with the vandalism. Listen, the reality is this one probably, from my perspective, is the most difficult one, because it is an issue of freedom of speech, and how now do we censor that? And this is it censoring or is it not censoring? That being said, this is where it gets very fundamentally difficult, because who are you going? The party didn't put it out,
That's right.
and now are you censoring someone's right to put that out? If someone fundamentally believes in that, they're not saying anything again that's obscene. And I'm a son of an immigrant, so it's something that I don't truly believe in myself. But if someone believes in it, and believes in it, when I say believes in it in a respectful manner, is that, you know, closing the borders to, you know, legal immigration is a lot different than no immigration. But those conversations aren't able to be had when it's just a billboard. It's emotion. It is emotion. So
And that's not the notion that it gives, at least from, you know, the initial reaction.
I think this gets a bit tricky because Patterson, the company that owns these billboards, came under so much pressure that they decided to take down the signs. So who now decides what is acceptable to be advertised or to be not advertised, and how do we walk that narrow line?
Absolutely, and that's what I was alluding to. I saw that today, that they were taking them down. And again, part of me understands and agrees with it. The other part of me is sad to see that censorship is occurring. And you know, we're walking a fine line of what can be said or what's politically correct and what's not politically correct. It becomes very difficult. And I guess in this case, it's a private entity that decided that, well, you know what, the betterment of their business, but it just becomes very, very slippery slope potentially.
Kimberlee, what should the candidates be doing now for the next 57 days? We're 57 days away. What are the priorities for candidates across the country? How do they prepare to win this election?
Well, it's like I said, get ahead in spreading their message, hitting as much doors as they can, getting to know the people, getting out there, let them see them, right? Because the worst thing you can have is just seeing somebody, you're like, who is this on the ballot?
Absolutely.
You want to be known. You want them to see you, the constituents, whether it be you individually or your team at large. Get out, profess your message, and that's all they can do.
Yeah, and kudos to all the candidates.
Yes.
It is a difficult thing to do. We have, some of us here have done it, and it's one of those scenarios that, you know, you're always going to get someone that said you didn't show up at my door. You may have hit that door 2 times, and that's the difficulty. But that being said, you rise above and you keep working, and you know, at the end result, you're hoping that if your message is heard, if you are the person that the constituents believe in, you will win.
We're out of time, but one final thing before we go. We saw candidates in Brampton, for example, are having their campaign launches, opening their campaign offices. You know, that's a good thing for democracy, right? For these people to go out. Are people getting the feel, Kimberlee, final point to you and final point to Mario, do you get the feeling that Canadians, Bramptonians are getting excited about this election? They know that the campaign is happening. Do we get a feel that people realize that we're into an election and it's time to change?
Yes. I think this week alone, we probably had about 6 or so, if not more, between Saturday and Sunday, and you know, it's been from all weeks. I think people, they're building the momentum and they're recognizing that engaging the constituents might be beneficial to them. So I think people are getting more excited. You're hearing more talks now in the last week or so than you did before. So I think it's good.
Absolutely. The campaign launches are what people start to recognize that it's really happening. The majority of Canadians, unfortunately, don't even know that there's an election until a month or so. This is what kind of ignites that.
So these are the pre-signs, if you will. Now the signs are not in yet, but this is the initial,
absolutely,
the pre-launch.
Get it going. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. We have come to the end of our program. This has been another edition of On Point. 57 days to the 43rd general election. We encourage you to go out there, get to know your candidates, talk about the issues that are important to you, and let your voice be heard. Until next Tuesday, join us again, where we'll take another look at the issues that you should consider, or the issues that are of importance to you as Canadians as we go to the polls for the 43rd time. Join us again next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Thank you.